Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Sam Kwok here, one of the Kwok Brothers. Now, we have to talk about what just happened the past Monday that made the eviction and the foreclosure wave even bigger than what it is. Now, this past Monday was the Labor Day, and ironically, the federal unemployment benefit of $300 a week has expired. Now, last March, Biden signed a $1.9 trillion stimulus package that offered the unemployment benefit of $300 a week. Now, of course, this benefit ended this past Monday without any further intervention from the Biden administration. The Biden administration believes that no further assistance is required now that the jobs are picking back up and the economy seems to be springing back to where it used to be. And of course, on the flip side, many small business owners believe and hope that this would help with the labor shortages as well as the supply chain issue, which ultimately, if the economists are right, could alleviate and relieve the inflation issues that we're dealing with today. But the latest articles and numbers are showing that there is a hesitancy with the labor market, mainly due to the Delta variant, and people are afraid that they will get sick if they were to go back to working again. And because our channel is all about real estate, housing market, and personal finance, we're going to tie this back to how this will increase the existing eviction wave and foreclosure wave to come. And for our real estate investors waiting on the sideline for the perfect timing to buy, I'm also going to share some opportunities and strategies where you can start looking at deals right now and be profitable. So let's go dive in. So let's go and talk about this from the angle of the eviction wave. Now, the eviction moratorium was set to expire at the end of September this month. But of course, the Supreme Court stepped in last week, said, nope, this is out of the jurisdiction of CDC. If there is to be another eviction moratorium, then the legislative branch, the Congress, needs to come and step up and create a law that essentially will create a new blanket federal eviction moratorium. And speaking of the federal government and legislative branch, remember that the Congress has passed nearly $47 billion of federal rental assistance, but only $5 billion of that money is actually distributed to the landlords and renters nationwide. And the bottleneck is that states can't get their acts together to get that money out to the landlords and renters as soon as possible. Which essentially, my opinion is that we're too late in terms of stopping the eviction wave if the states can't figure this out and get this funding out to the landlords and renters in time. So my opinion is that yes, we are going to see a wave of evictions, but we're not going to see a one big giant mega wave. We are going to see more of a tranches, mini waves that are going to go, and we're going to see a lot of renters and tenants displaced. Now, with this new announcement that the unemployment benefit has expired this past Monday, that's going to make the eviction wave even bigger. Many of those that are on the edge of not being able to pay could not pay and therefore wouldn't be included in the eviction wave as well. So in turn, this could add millions of additional renters that are going to be included in the eviction wave, and this could potentially be the country's longest and the biggest eviction wave that we have ever seen in the history of the United States. So how does this then affect the housing market? Well, first of all, we're definitely going to see more inventory appear in the market. We're going to see a lot more landlords who've been pretty much waiting for the eviction thing to be over with, and they're like, you know what, I'm getting tired of this landlord thing. I'm getting tired of dealing with evictions and tenants. I'm going to sell. So we're going to see a lot more landlords wanting to sell, especially from the baby boomer landlords. They're going to opt in to sell, which, by the way, little foreshadow for the end of the video. I'm going to give you some strategies how to pick up some deals from that. And of course, we're going to see a lot more rental inventory as well. Now, in the previous months, we've seen the rent price skyrocket to pretty much a record high. And I believe with the eviction wave coming in, this should kind of balance out the inventory supply and demand to where we may see the rent prices slowly dip back to somewhat of a normal. But it's not necessarily going to go back to a pandemic low, because at the end of the day, I do still believe that the rent prices will steadily increase over time instead of a major peak that we've seen in the last few months. So even without talking about the foreclosure wave, which we'll talk about next, we do anticipate seeing a bump of new inventory coming in by the landlords wanting to sell and want to put their home in the market and exit out of becoming a landlord. However, one caveat is that there are states like New York that are imposing their own eviction moratorium all the way to January of 2022. So states like Illinois, New York, California are still having their own version of the eviction moratorium, which of course further frustrates the landlords and kicks the can down the road, potentially making the eviction wave even bigger for those states as well. So that is the eviction wave, which potentially will see the biggest increase in impact from this news. Now, with the foreclosure wave, however, we're going to see a minuscule impact, but I still do see a somewhat of an impact. Now, much like the eviction wave, homeowners who lost their jobs and dependent on the weekly unemployment checks could face similar hardships as the tenants. While I don't necessarily see the same desperation and tightness as the renters, homeowners who pretty much still dependent on the weekly unemployment benefits could face the similar issues that a lot of tenants are facing right now. Now, All CARES Act related forbearance programs have ended on July 31st, but technically we won't see any kind of foreclosure wave or actions until next year. But even then, it takes years and months for these banks to really figure out and get the process of foreclosure going. So we won't really see a wave of foreclosures come right away in January 2022. We may see the foreclosure waves again in tranches and mini waves pretty much between 2022 to all the way to 2025. But fortunately, many new homeowners are met with some options to exit out of the forbearance programs with the 40-year modification, repayment programs, as well as being able to defer any missed payments to the end of their mortgage, either when they sell their homes or refinance their homes entirely. So with both scenarios of having an eviction wave and a foreclosure wave, we're definitely gonna see more inventory be introduced to the housing market. We're gonna see more of the rent prices go down, and hopefully this will definitely cool off the prices for many buyers waiting in the sidelines who wanted to buy. Now, all this could happen as early as October of this year for the eviction wave, and of course, for the foreclosure wave, we're gonna start seeing that in January 2022, but I really don't think that we're gonna see the bottom of it or the big wave of it until at least 2023, when banks have started to process the foreclosures and go through the legal process of essentially having these homes that have been foreclosed on re-enter the market as distressed property, or they become REOs, which is real estate owned. Essentially, banks owning these properties until they can be auctioned off at the local county level. So bottom line, all that to say, we're definitely gonna see more inventory and the housing market prices cooling off in the near terms, although we're gonna see the demands remain steady because a lot of the demand and the buyers didn't go away. We're definitely seeing a lot of the buyers sidelined, that they're kind of waiting. And we have Gen Z in the next 5 years wanting to buy homes. So we're definitely gonna see demands pretty much steady at the pace that we're on for the next 5 to 10 years, unless there's a new influx of inventory being added to the market. That means more construction, more multifamily, more single-family homes being built in the next 10 years to meet the demands that we're gonna see. And of course, the moment you've been waiting for all my real estate investors, pretty much waiting on the sideline for the market to come down, for the prices to look better, I wanna show you a trick and a strategy for you to be able to go and start getting deals right now. Now, I've been getting a lot of comments lately on Facebook and YouTube saying, well, Sam, Daniel, I wanna wait until the housing market cools off. You know, I wanna wait until the prices come down to be able to start buying rental properties all over again. Now, I've heard many years ago when I just got started in the career of real estate investing, one of my good mentors told me, you know, Sam, only amateurs try to time the market and try to get the best price at the right time. But experts and seasoned real estate investors create opportunities, create deals pretty much from what they see. And to this day, I still believe in that philosophy where no matter what the market's doing, whether the market's going down or up or going sideways, a good real estate investor, an educated investor, should be able to create deals and stay profitable in any given market. So the opportunity right now lies within the truth that I explained earlier, and that is a lot of the landlords are wanting to exit and wanting to sell. And a lot of them are waiting until their tenants are evicted and they're gone and they can get the house vacant, get it repaired, and put it back on the market. Now, what if you can get to those landlords quickly and early enough to where you take over the property even when the eviction hasn't been completed? In fact, this is actually one of the ways that I picked up many deals earlier in the days where I would contact landlords that are stressed out right now, they're anxious about the eviction process, and they're having tenant issues. So I would typically reach out to these landlords by saying, hey, listen, I know there's an eviction going on right now, you're stressed out. What if I can just take over the property right now as is, and you don't have to worry about a thing, you get to walk away, we'll close quick, and we'll make sure that you walk away pretty much also having to win. So guys, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying to take advantage of these landlords and try to, get a deal out of them and rake the money out of them. But what I am saying is that as you approach these landlords, you're trying to negotiate for a win-win scenario where they get to walk away happy and they may walk away some cash, and you get a deal and potentially a lower price and better terms when it comes to getting the deal done. In fact, to put the money where our mouth is, Daniel and I just put an offer last week on a single family rental property to go and acquire that property, even in the midst of this hot real estate market. So again, it's not about trying to get the right timing, it's about creating the opportunity where the opportunity doesn't necessarily exist. So here's some strategies I wanna suggest for you guys, and you guys can go check out some of the other videos we have about these strategies specifically, but one of the strategies that we would suggest and offer doing is something called contract for deed, also known as seller financing. Now, like I said before, a lot of these landlords are motivated, they're anxious, they're stressed out. So one of the best ways and quickest way to close is by doing seller financing. So what seller financing is, for those that are maybe unfamiliar, is that instead of going to a bank to get bank financing or your traditional mortgage, you essentially make monthly payments to the seller in exchange for the ownership right of the property. So the seller essentially becomes the bank. Now, the benefit to the seller is that they get to collect interest payments, they get monthly cash flow payments without worrying about tenants or toilets or managing any aspect of the property. And in the past, when negotiating for owner financing, we've been able to get away with 5% down, 10% down, to where if we're buying, let's say, a $100,000 rental property, that's only 10 grand down that we need to come up with, and it's seller finance, meaning that we can close just like that. So the opportunity right now is to contact these landlords that have struggling tenants or they're in middle of eviction, and you approach them by saying, hey, listen, I'm a local real estate investor in town as well. What if I take over the property? You sell the property to me right now as is, you walk away, but here's the proposal that I have, and you can begin negotiating. In fact, we have a free owner financing course down below in the video description. Go and sign up. It's a free 3-hour course that we're gonna give away absolutely free, where you get to go ahead and learn everything we know about owner financing. So go and definitely check it out. It's a free course. Go sign up for it right now. The other strategy we would also suggest is using what's called subject to existing mortgage strategy. What this essentially is, it's very similar to seller financing in a way that you're taking over the owner's monthly payments in exchange for the ownership right of the property. So if the landlord has a mortgage payment every month, let's say $500 a month, you would essentially take over that $500 a month of payment, letting the landlord walk away, and you get the title, you get the deed of the property, so you essentially become the owner of the property. Now, in many times, to help the negotiation process, you can give a little bit of a lump sum money to the landlord on top of taking over the monthly payment, to where it motivates the landlord to take that option. But it's a great way, a strategy to acquire a property without necessarily having to go get a new mortgage or new financing to go make a visit to the bank. But instead, it's kind of like recycling an existing mortgage payment in place, and you just take over the property, which essentially is a very quick close. So both of the scenarios and strategies I talked about involves in pretty much taking over the property right away. You take it as is, and of course, you're gonna have to bear the burden of going through the eviction process and taking care of any maintenance or repairs that might be necessary. But in exchange, you can walk away with better deals, better terms, better price, and a lot of times, this is how Daniel and I buy properties, knowing that we have systems and really great property management in place to then take over some of these properties that are deteriorating and are in need of help. So with all that being said, guys, I do see that the eviction wave and the foreclosure wave have gotten worse and it's gotten bigger. And just like what I mentioned, it's not gonna be a big giant wave that's gonna come at once, but it's gonna be mini waves that are gonna come. So it's gonna be tranches. We're gonna see small pockets of foreclosure that's gonna happen, and we're gonna see another pocket of foreclosure happening. So it's not gonna be a big giant wave, but it's gonna be multiple waves that are gonna come through between October till pretty much we're gonna see the end of it in 2025. So if you are a real estate investor like me, now is the time to get prepared. Now is the time to learn new strategies and make sure that you have your skills and your craft honed before you walk in to start acquiring deals. Now is the time, and let's get prepared together. So that being said, go and check out some of the other videos we have about owner financing, seller financing. Definitely go and sign up for our free course. And we have many videos like this where we give value and we want to give you the latest news as well as knowledge, information on how to make more money in real estate. So that being said, guys, if you got value from it, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.